JB Smooth only drinks vodka soda made with the world's smoothest vodka.
And you can too. Pick you up a bottle of the triple wave filtered vodka that's been distilled 5 times. White Claw Premium Vodka comes in 4 flavors: black cherry, mango, pineapple, and just vodka. You haven't had vodka like this. No one has. White Claw Premium Vodka. Please drink responsibly.
It's the Chase! It's the Chase! Live 1 to 3, Monday through Friday on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to Chase and his friends on WKGN. It's the Chase! It's the Scruffy City! Listen to his friends, and his friends are on WKGN. I'm always taking your calls on the Tennessee Vols. It's the Chase! It's the Chase! It's the Chase!
It's the Chase here, Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen, wherever at Fan Run Radio on the app. It's free. Download it today if you have not already. You can also listen to us on WKGN FM 1057, AM 1340. Monday through Friday, it's the Chase here, 1 to 3. Just me in the house. No Shumpert today. He'll be back next Tuesday, Rocky Top Insider. We still have a full house this week. We got Vol Reports, Ryan Sylvia coming in tomorrow. We had Caleb Giroux of the Daily Times in yesterday. We'll have Jack Foster on Omaha Productions on Friday, and we'll also have Saturday Down South, Ethan Stone as well on Thursday. So still a jam-packed show, and we've got intern Jay here along with us. Jay, how are you doing?
Doing great as always. Not really anything crazy going on, but just enjoying to be here.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's a quiet time, but relaxing. We're in good spirits, man, and whole lot of Tennessee talk to talk about here. And we also got producer and co-hosting today, G5 Garrett Armbrust is back. Garrett, how are you, sir?
Doing good. Excited to be back on. Just been watching the UCLA LSU game out there. It was kind of a blowout, but UCLA is kind of making it a game now, so just got to keep it up the score right now. Looks like they got 2 guys on, so we'll monitor that, see if it gets any closer.
There you go. So a lot happening still in the sports world here on Tuesday, June 17th, right here in East Tennessee, coming to you live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios here at Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Thank you all for making the Chase part of your weekly staple here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. We're going to kick things off with some Tennessee football offseason discussion questions. We'll talk some more Tennessee football recruiting in hour number 1, and we'll wrap up with some interesting Diego Pavia comments on a recent podcast this week about Vanderbilt football and where they stand going forward in the state of Tennessee. In hour number 2, we'll talk to G5 Garrett over there as we continue on our preview season series with Appalachian State. We did Georgia Southern yesterday, so if you liked hearing Garrett's in-depth analysis on the Sun Belt, well, guess what? You're going to get it every day this week as we continue on, along with all of our Tennessee coverage for all the CFB fans here we have all across East Tennessee. We're going to give some insight into what the Appalachian State Mountaineers are going to look like in 2025 with no Joey Aguilar, who has been their quarterback the last 2 years, might be quarterback 1 for the Vols this fall. We shall see over the next 2 months. We'll talk to Locked On Cubs Matt Cozy to talk all things Chicago Cubs about where they stand going into a big-time series against the Brewers, and we'll wrap up with Bryce Kuhn of Go247 to talk about some LSU recruiting battles with Tennessee, some big ones that Tennessee's going to have to win, as the biggest being, of course, Tristan Keys, who is a LSU commit 5-star wide receiver, and if Tennessee is going to be able to flip Keys down the stretch here over the next month or so. So, jam-packed show for you guys today here on The Chase. Let's kick things off, though. Tennessee football offseason question to start, fellas. Something that I was thinking about this week in terms of last year, on my podcast, I talked about this a lot, and I got a lot of grief for suggesting that the Arkansas game in Fayetteville was just all the makings of a trap game for the Vols, a trap game for Josh Heupel and company. I didn't like where it sat in the calendar. Taylon Green is the type of quarterback that Tennessee has struggled if they are not able to get home, and he just diced Tennessee quietly. It was a lot of 3rd and 5s and just keeping drives alive. I mean, you remember that one drive Arkansas had in the first half where they just had an outrageous amount of time. The time of possession difference between Tennessee and Arkansas in the first half of that one was bonkers, and then you obviously lose it late, and it was a rough loss, but it didn't end up upending Tennessee's season. They go 10-2, obviously, and make the college football playoff. This year, you don't really have that natural toss-up road game where you're like, I don't love this spot, unless you look at one of the two early, one being a pseudo road game in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on August 30th at noon against Syracuse. But I struggle. I don't know where y'all stand on if that qualifies ultimately as a road game for Tennessee. Because, I mean, NC State last year, there was a pretty healthy NC State fan base there, but it still kind of felt like a Tennessee home game. There were a lot of Tennessee folks there. Were either of y'all in Charlotte for that game last year?
I was not.
Were you, Garrett?
No, I didn't get to that one.
Okay.
But I know, I mean, it's closer to Tennessee, Atlanta is than Syracuse, so there is that.
That's true. And I think it's going to be one of those where Tennessee is going to show up in a big way. Like you said, it's not far from Atlanta. It's a day trip for a lot of folks. Like, they can get there, get back if they want to, make a weekend of it in Atlanta if they want to do that. So I'm very curious what the turnout is, but I would say probably 90-10 Tennessee fans for that one. But the Mississippi State game, to me, if you were like trying to squint really hard as to what the trap game is for Tennessee on the road this year, where could they fall that we're not expecting, we're not anticipating before the year that, hey, like everyone is just so locked in Oklahoma at home in November. Everyone's locked in at Florida, locked in against Georgia at home, and then obviously locked in Tuscaloosa. When you're trying to find the one game that we're overlooking, to me, it's either Syracuse or Mississippi State. When you look at those two particular games, I lean that Mississippi State would be less surprising to me if Tennessee was in a dogfight. I think Tennessee will be more than fine against Syracuse in the Dome. I like that 11.5-point line right now. I think Tennessee's going to cover and just be fine there. I don't know if y'all agree on that front, but I think Tennessee is going to be just fine against Syracuse. That being said, Mississippi State, Cowbells, Jeff Lebby having a lot of history with Josh Heupel. They know each other well. Blake Shapen back for like his 13th college football season. If he's healthy, he's a good player. Like, we've seen good Blake Shapen. It feels like forever ago, but he was a big-time talent at Baylor. Injuries and other things just could not – it never fully worked out for him, but a super talented quarterback. Van Buren gone. He's now QB2 at LSU. Mississippi State did not fight well against Tennessee in Neyland last year. That was actually probably one of Nico's best games last year was against Mississippi State before he got knocked out and came back in. But I do think that's the one to me where, hey, Mississippi State, strong fan base. It could get a little rowdy. It might be a little bit dicey for Tennessee's offense. First big road SEC game where if they take Mississippi State for granted, that's one where, excuse the pun, it might be a dogfight for the Vols to get out with a win, even more than Kentucky, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, you never know. Tennessee's not. Josh Heupel is never losing to Mark Stoops as long as these two are coaching Tennessee and Kentucky. And I'm just always going to err on the side of Tennessee's going to be just fine against Kentucky year in, year out. I think Mississippi State's probably the one. And I still feel really good about Mississippi State. But if you were to tell me which of the 1-2 games early on is more likely for Tennessee to be in a dogfight in the fourth quarter, I think it's Mississippi State. Am I crazy, or do y'all agree?
I would say Syracuse probably more. Because, I mean, Syracuse, they had a very good team last year. They're looking to get back to where they were this year. And, I mean, it's in a neutral site. First game of the year for both teams. I feel like something could happen to where it could be in a dogfight near the end of the game. But I just don't see Mississippi State being that close of a game, because Mississippi State is pretty much the worst team in the SEC. I think that's what a lot of people are saying. Bottom 3. So I don't see us losing that game necessarily, but I could definitely see Syracuse being closer than people might imagine.
What do you think, Garrett?
I mean, I would say I'm kind of split 50-50 here. I mean, obviously, I think we're going to win both games. I think Syracuse has too many pieces on offense, though, that they've lost. They lose a great backfield in Kyle McCord, who led the country, I believe, in passing yards last year, 4,000-plus yard passing yards. You lose LaQuinn Allen, one of the best running backs in the country, one of the most slept-on draft prospects of the entire draft this year. You lose Aronde Gadsden, their tight end, that was very good, especially in blocking situations and a solid tight end. You lose Trevor Pena, their top wide receiver, to Penn State. Like, that's a lot of things that they're replacing. Now they bring in Stephen Gelly from Notre Dame, peanut butter and Gelly time, and they bring in, obviously, some more pieces. You know, Fran Brown's going to have them ready to go. Fran Brown is one of the top and emerging college coaches in the country. My thing with week one is you don't know what you're going to get. QB play, I feel like week one, it's going to be kind of a wild card. You hope that your QB is ready to go, but if you have some kind of, elusive QB play in the first half, that could be, a situation. They're going to have a new quarterback too, but I kind of agree with you. I feel like the Syracuse game could be a little more sketchy, especially in the first half. The Mississippi State game, SEC game on the road, especially if it's a night game, it could be interesting with the cowbells and whatnot, but I feel like that's the game where your defense kind of separates you from Mississippi State in that game.
Yeah, and I think, too, you may bring up a good point. Like, McCord is gone, top passing offense in college football last year. They were throwing the ball all over the place. Pena's gone. He's over at Penn State now, so you lose your big-time premium targeted receiver. There's just a lot of turnover there, and we don't even know who quarterback one's going to be in that game. We might see two quarterbacks with Anginelli and Ricky Collins.
True.
So I think that's a lot of production to replace. Fran Brown, really good coach, building a great program at Syracuse. I just think it's set up for a disaster for them in this spot, and I think Tennessee's front seven is just going to overwhelm Syracuse in that game, and I just think the defense will be the story for Tennessee, and coming out we're like, oh, this Tennessee defense is monstrous, where I just think they're going to wreak havoc on Syracuse and their offensive line and company in that game, and whoever is QB1. To me, I just feel like Mississippi State, who was very active in the portal, especially at receiver, I think Anthony Evans has a lot of talent. He's a speedster from Georgia. He will be their starting slot. If he can stay healthy and make that jump, I am very curious how he replaces Kevin Coleman, who transferred to Mizzou. He's a super talented guy. You have Jordan Mosey on the outside, and then you also have Brennan Thompson as well. You have Aiden Williams coming in from Ole Miss. He's an interesting guy. Devin Booth, who is a he's a graduate senior. He gets an extra year of eligibility. He's super interesting. Fluff Bothwell of South Alabama is transferring in. Like, if Mississippi State ran the ball well and Blake Shapen's healthy and just one or two of these receivers pop a little bit, I think this offense, it's not going to be like one of the best in college football or in the SEC next year, but there is juice there. There is potential with Mississippi State's offense to be a whole lot better than they were last year. And year two in the system for Lebby and company and these guys, I think there's reason to be optimistic that game could be dicey for Tennessee, because Mississippi State gets up for these home games, and I think it's a sneaky, tough place to play in Starkville.
I mean, with the Cowbells, 100%.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's. Do we have the time on that one?
I think it's one of those flex games.
Okay,
where it's going to be between like 3:30 and 7:30.
I want that at 3:30.
No,
yeah,
I do not want that to be a night game. That's where I really turn up the panic meter.
But do you think it's going to be a night game in Starkville? Like, do you think they would give it to them?
If we're undefeated, if we beat Georgia going into that game, we won't be the ABC night game. We'd probably be the ESPN 7 o'clock game, though, I would think. And you bring up a good point about Fluff. I mean, he was one of the top. I mean, really one of the top running backs in all of G5 last year. One of the top freshman running backs in the country. Him and Hardy at Missouri, two G5 guys that are getting SEC running back starts. Like, those are two guys you don't want to see in the backfield of another team. We've seen at some points Tennessee defense has had a bit of an issue with some elite running backs. It's not a game where you want to see him go for 150 yards. Yeah,
and that's a good combo. Like, Booth and Fluff is a really sneaky, interesting 1-2 punch for the Bulldogs.
They're not going to go 2-10 this year.
No,
they're not going to. They're going to win. They're not even some of their games last year. I mean, you saw they were competitive against Georgia for most of that game. They were competitive against Texas for at least 3 quarters. Like, they showed they could play football. They were definitely unequivocally the worst team in the SEC last year.
Yeah.
And I don't expect. It's not like they're going to have a winning record in conference play this year. But if they go 3-5 in conference play with competitive losses, that's not. That's not a team that you want to play at night. It's like South Carolina a couple of years ago. You go into that game and it's like they weren't. Obviously the last 2 weeks of their season were completely different, but you went in there, you thought you were going to rout them, you were going to beat Vandy, you were going to the 4-team college football playoff, and right when that game starts and you see the fans going crazy and it's a night game. Like, you just don't want to go into those type of atmospheres in night games where it's like a game where they have nothing to lose and you have everything to lose.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We'll see ultimately which one of those becomes more of the toss-up game. But I think as of right now, I would not be surprised. Can we agree as a whole that it would not be surprising if Tennessee is closer in the fourth quarter to one of those teams and that people aren't expecting? Like whether it's Syracuse, whether it's Mississippi State, I don't think both are blowouts where Tennessee fans are not going to be sweating come the fourth quarter.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's bound to happen at some point. I mean, every team's going to have...
There's always a trap card game.
Yeah. I mean, I remember in Georgia when they won the national championship, they were in toe-to-toe with Kent State through three quarters a couple years ago. This would have been 2022, I guess, but...
I remember when Alabama was tied with the Citadel at half.
Yeah. I mean, it's some of those games that are you expect, like not that you overlook it, like they don't actually overlook it in the locker room. They play every game like it's the national championship, but a fan base, sometimes those games where you're like, it doesn't matter. Sometimes those are the games that it's hard for the players to get up and, get hyped up to play, and that's sometimes what you see is a slow first half.
Absolutely. Join the conversation, 865-966-3435. Call us if you want to talk Tennessee, and throughout today's 2 hours, if you want to talk about the Mississippi State-Syracuse battle. Are we overthinking Mississippi State? You can call us and give us your thoughts throughout the course of today's show. It's 865-966-3435 to be a part of the chase here Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Download that Fan Run Radio app. It's free, and you can listen wherever, whenever, every day on the Fan Run Radio app. We're also FM 105.7, AM 1340. Stick with us as we continue on hour number 1. We'll talk some Tennessee recruiting coming out of the break, but we'll be right back with more Tennessee talk right after this.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Believe in family. Believe in your fellow man. Believe in honesty and an honest day's work. We do. We're Farm Bureau Insurance. And we don't just believe in Tennessee. We believe in Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Insurance. Tennessee's insurance company.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance for Tennesseans. Believe in me for all of your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Hey, Pack Rat. Yeah, you. Are you moving cross-country and you just don't know who to call? Call us right now. Listen, you've probably seen one of our containers in your neighborhood. But did you know that we can help you move anywhere in the United States? It's real simple. We'll drop a container off at the location you tell us to bring it to. You pack up your valuable possessions at your leisure. They stay safe right in your home. And when you're ready, call us. We'll come and pick up the container and give you a scheduled date of when your furniture and the other possessions will be at your new home. So if you're moving across country or across town, be a Pack Rat. Join the Pack Rat family. Call Pack Rat right now for your free quote. See y'all later, Pack Rats.
Call 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. That's 800-965-1298.
Are you looking for a treat that will knock it out of the park at the next watch party? Just like your favorite baseball team, Crumble brings the best lineup week to week with an expanded roster that includes key lime pie, strawberry cake, or my personal favorite, Monster featuring M&M candies. Let Crumble treat you to the best cookies in the game. Download the Crumble app and start earning rewards. You can even vote monthly on what flavors you would like to see at any store of your choice. Warmer weather is here, so get to the ballpark, but don't miss the cookies.
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-88-99789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
It's The Chase, right here, Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen anywhere, wherever, on our free Fan Run Radio app. Make sure you download that today if you have not already. You can also listen to us, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. You can watch us on YouTube, streaming live there 13 hours a day with all of our shows. If you want to watch us, you can also check us out there on the Fan Run Fox Sports Knoxville YouTube channel as well. You can also be a part of this show, so you can call us at 865-966-3435 with any of the Tennessee talk that you want to jump on here as we continue our Tennessee recruiting conversation. It's just a big time for recruiting right now for the football side of things, so you can always be a part of the show, 865-966-3435. Love to hear from you guys Monday through Friday right here on The Chase on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. As we continue our Tennessee football recruiting side of things, gentlemen, what I am most curious about right now, this is like a little nugget that was buried in Dogs HQ this week. So Jeremy Johnson does a really good job covering Georgia football recruiting. Rusty Manziel, friend of the program, he was on a couple weeks ago, our debut week, and did a lot of great analysis in terms of Jake Merklinger, Mike Matthews, Travis Smith, and a lot of other Georgia blue chippers who are now Tennessee Volunteers. Well, one of the things that he dropped in a recent article this week that I thought was interesting, he listed four-star linebacker Kedrick Golston, who is a Georgia legacy because his dad played at Georgia, but his dad played for Georgia under the tutelage of Rodney Garner, who is now the defensive line coach, obviously, at Tennessee. And that has felt like a Georgia-Tennessee battle for a while. And in his hit or miss column, Jeremy says miss when he is talking about Georgia. He said, Georgia has been working here, quote, Georgia has been working here, but it feels like others have momentum. That's a sneaky one to monitor to me. So the reason I think this is interesting is because Tennessee, I don't really know what he is. Is he an edge? Is he a linebacker? I don't really know what Kedrick Golston is, and it kind of reminds me of Christian Gass's recruitment last year. From Eastside, he's another Georgia four-star blue chipper. He's super interesting to me, too, because we don't really know what Gass is going to be at Tennessee. Is he a Leo? Is he a linebacker? He seems like he is someone who's versatile, kind of like what Jalen Walker was for Georgia, where don't overthink it, just put him on the field and good things are going to happen. And you just kind of wonder if that's what Golston is. So for Tennessee fans who are curious, because Golston was here, I believe, 2 weeks ago, he is someone that obviously great lineage there with his dad playing for Rodney Garner at Georgia. If he's not at Georgia and the Dogs HQ, Jeremy Johnson, sees it as less likely because of the momentum aspect to it with him, does that mean Golston might be someone that Tennessee fans need to become more and more acquainted with? And could he wind up in the orange and white? Because what's so interesting about where Tennessee's at is they are targeting so many Leos and linebackers right now. They had so many OVs this weekend. TJ White, four-star linebacker out of Mississippi, he was in town. That, by all accounts, VolQuest, Austin Price, and Matt Ray in coverage over there. They spoke at length about TJ White and where that stands. Seems pretty good for UT at the moment. Last year, you had Jaden Harmon, like we talked about Christian Gass. Like, there's a lot of linebacker blue-chip talent in the boat right now, but also a lot of edge guys who are in the boat. So you have Groves, who already committed. You have, and he's another four-star local Tennessee guy. You have Joel Wyatt, who's from the Webb School, not the one here locally, the other Webb School. He's a four-star. Vanderbilt pursuing him, a couple other ones. Does he wind up in the boat for Tennessee as a Leo? Is it Golston plus Groves plus another Leo? there is a lot of possibility that this is going to be a very front seven heavy group here in the 2026 cycle, and they've already stacked premier talent after premier talent with Caleb Herring, Jordan Ross, Marion Dye, Christian Gass. They have a lot of dudes there, but I think this one in particular, when you look at the names and you see little things like that, little tidbits on the trail, like Kedrick Golston doesn't seem like a Georgia player or someone who's going to be in Georgia's class in the 2026 cycle. I think that's pretty interesting. That is something that I am monitoring because Tennessee is going to clearly add several edge guys in this cycle. And Tristan Givens is another one, the 5-star kid from Carver who was on campus for his OV this weekend. The Tristans, 5-star Tristan Givens, 5-star Tristan Keys, both in this weekend. On Three's Charles Power wrote this about Tristan Givens. Tennessee has the momentum again for Tristan Givens. This is a Tennessee-Texas A&M battle, and Givens will be back in College Station this weekend. This has gone back and forth in recent months, and it still could. But coming out of the official visit to Knoxville, the Vols are back in a good position. Is it big enough to hold off the Aggies? That's from Charles Power over there at On3, who does a great job with his recruiting coverage there. This is all very, very positive. And it kind of builds off what we were talking about yesterday, where Caleb and I had a little bit of a disagreement in terms of, like, would you rather have 5-star Tristan Keys, or would you rather just keep stacking guys in the trenches where you know you've developed better than anybody else with Coach Chop and Coach Garner? We'll see if Tennessee is able to hold off A&M for Tristan Givens. I think he goes to A&M this weekend. This is a big boy battle. Like, everything shuts down. Like, we're in the dead period for 2 months after this weekend. So this is like the final showing for everybody. Tennessee's obviously got a bunch of big final OVs coming in this weekend that we'll talk about later this week. But I just feel really, really good about that. And you read that, and if you're a Vol fan and you're like, hey, are they going to be able to keep this momentum and keep this humming post James Pierce? Yes. Tennessee is going to keep this thing humming post James Pierce. William Inge is going to keep this thing humming, and we haven't even seen the best version of Tennessee's linebackers yet in the Heupel era, the Tim Banks, William Inge era, I guess, more than anything. But I'm seeing stuff like this, and I'm like, okay, let's see about Golston. That's just someone to keep in the back pocket of, like, if he pops up over the next month or so, don't be surprised, because that seemed like a Georgia-Tennessee battle. Could be someone other than Tennessee who lands Kedrick Golston, but we shall see there. And Tristan Givens, man, I've said I just want to keep stacking edge guys, because some of these guys might be big enough where they're on the opposite side. Like, all these guys might not end up being Leos in this scheme. Some of them might be, they don't fill out enough, or they don't put on the weight, or they put on a lot more weight than you think they can, and then they're going to the strong side, defensive end side. So they can become a Tyler Barron type and be able to withstand that kind of beating on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So I just get excited when I see stuff like this, and reading the On3 report on Gibbons and reading Dogs HQ on Golston. Tennessee's not going to get everybody that they're bringing in. They're not going to also flip Hezekiah Harris from Auburn. Who's another big-time edge target. They're in it for so many. Trey Quinn, another one who's being chased by all the big names. He's another 4-star edge. They're not going to get all these guys. But Tennessee is in play for enough of them that, man, I'm excited about where this close can be, because I've been not just banging on the door here the last couple months for Vol fans to, like, understand this 2026 class has all the makings of the best class thus far under Josh Heupel. And we are all waiting for that top 10 class. You close on Tristan Givens and Tristan Keys, or Tristan Givens and Savion Hyder with Faison Brandon, that's a top 10 class. That is, you're in these big boy battles because you have the track record, especially on defense, or if you want to go get developed and you want to play for one of the premier best defensive coaching staffs in the country, you come to Tennessee. And I don't think any of us thought when Josh Heupel was hired that 5 years in, we'd be like, hey, the biggest selling point for Tennessee football recruiting right now is, hey, do you want to go where you're going to get developed and go where you're going to have the nastiest front seven in all of college football potentially, and one of the best cornerback tandems where you're Tennessee's number one corner this year, first-round guy, it looks like. Boo Carter, first-round guy potentially next year. Like, you are going to an area where Tennessee's defensive identity and the fact that they can show we were a top 10 scoring defense a year ago, that we always lead in TFLs. We were right there with sacks in 2023. We take a little bit of a step back. James Pierce goes in the first round. Byron Young's excelling as a third-round pick with the Rams. He's been fantastic getting after the quarterback there. Joshua Josephs, if he can keep this trend going, and he's a first, second-round guy based on his final year at Tennessee, it's just so huge. Omar Norman-Lott at Kansas City, if he can get signed, what does he look like his rookie year on a really good team and he being a factor on a good team? Tennessee has just so much momentum, and there's proof of concept there where they don't have to just be like, here's what you could be if we add you. It's like, no, Tristan Givens. Like, you saw James Pierce. You saw Byron Young. You saw just insert player name here with Rodney Garner and Coach Chop and company. Like, you're going to get developed, and you're going to work, whether it's William Inge, whether it's Willie Martinez, whether it's Tim Banks, whether it's Coach Chop, whether it's Rodney Garner. Tennessee recruiting on the defensive side of the ball, man, it just gets me fired up here on a Tuesday. It's June 17th, and I just see stuff like this, and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, no, I mean, the OVs that happened this weekend, I feel like that was a good week for Givens to be here because it was like you had Faison here, you had, Tristan Keys here. I think personally I would rather get Givens than I would Keys just because I feel like in the offense that we run and in modern-day college football, a freshman wide receiver is not going to get an extreme amount of playing time their first year. We saw Mike Matthews, highly touted high school prospect. He had like 7 receptions last year. Like, if you were a freshman wide receiver, it doesn't. Even if he's a 5-star, I don't know how much of the field he's going to see. Whereas Givens, like, if you're an elite player on the defensive side of the ball, like, they're going to find a way to find you on the field. And Faison Brandon and Tristan Keys would be an elite combo. Like, I would love to see that. And I'm not saying that I don't want it. If we could land both, that would be incredible. But the odds you land both of those are pretty slim. So I'm saying if I'm picking one, it's going to be Givens because I just want hard-hitting guys on defense. That's the brand we're building is defense. Like, I just want my front 7 to be hard hitters. I want my secondary to be, one-on-one islands, no fly zones. I want an elite defense. Championships are built on elite defenses. A wide receiver that you flip from LSU would be massive, but this seems like it's been kind of a recent development that we've been talking about him, and it's like, do we even, like, he might not come here. Like, there's a pretty good chance, like, he doesn't come here. I feel like the Givens one, he's saying, like, Tennessee's always been, top dog, like, he seems like he's all in on Tennessee. Like, I just feel like that's a safer bet. If we're picking one, that would be who I would want.
Yeah, and then, I mean, Tristan Keys, like what you said, would he be able to make a day one impact? I don't know. And the fact that he's already committed to LSU is just like, I don't necessarily know if he wants to be here necessarily. I mean, I saw the recruiting video. It kind of looked like he did, but, I mean, I just don't know. But, I mean, Tristan Givens would be phenomenal for Tennessee. And, again, you just build up that D-line. Games are won in the trenches. That would just be amazing for us.
Yeah, and I think to me it's less about, like, I want Tristan Givens, and then I would prefer it's like a either-or with Savion Hyder or Tristan Keys.
Yeah.
Where I just think you need to keep stacking these edge guys. Like, just keep stacking and figure it out as you go. Receiver, running back is the interesting one to me because that's a humongous investment in either position, right? Like, if you go big or Tristan Keys, then I don't see how you can also go big for Savion Hyder.
Well, it just seems like you have a young wide receiver room already.
Yes.
Like, it's like you have Matthews. If you see Carter getting some snaps, you have Staley, Amari. Like, these are all pretty young players.
Give me some veteran transfers in this group.
Yeah. Right. Even Brazel, hasn't had, really the impact here yet that he's probably going to have this year. I feel like he's going to get much more involved this year than he did last year. But it's like, if you had a receiving room like you did in 2022 where you had Cedric Tillman, you had Jalen Hyatt, like, if you could add to, like, a 3-headed monster and you bring in a 5-star, like, sure. But, like, the wide receiver room that we have right now, like, I don't know that it's necessarily constructed to have, like, I don't think we're going to have a 1,000-yard wide receiver on, in the Tennessee wide receiver group in a while. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they try and space it out, get, not equal receptions, but it's like you see it more spread out than just we're just going to throw it to one guy the whole time.
What happened last year?
Well, it's not going to happen routinely unless you're back to that slim rotation where Golish those first 2 years was not rotating.
Yeah.
So you'll get back to that 1,000-plus like Blitnikoff type guy, like a Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman type guy. But the reason they were able to explode partly was they never came off the field.
Right.
Like, they were in 50-plus snaps a game.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you're rotating so much and you know that what we're doing now is it's like it seems like we're trying to win games defensively, I don't know where a 5-star wide receiver. No, I would love to have him on the team. I'm not saying I don't want him. I'm just saying, like, I feel like if you have the options to get 4-star defensive players, I would rather stack those than one 5-star wide receiver. That you're not. I feel like defensive players in general too, especially up front, are just like it's safer because it's like if you're bigger and stronger than anybody else, like you're gonna be bigger and stronger than anybody else.
Yes.
Like if you run good routes in high school, and you can lock down, corners and safeties that are 2 and 3 stars in high school. Like, what are you going to do up against 5-star corners and safeties when you're playing against Alabama? Like, it might not happen. It might, but, like, I don't know. I just feel like if you're bigger and stronger on defense, like, there's less things that could happen whether than you're just some athletic freak of a wide receiver. And he's a great athlete. He's a great player. I'm not saying that I don't want him. I'm just saying I would rather have defense than offense.
Especially, too, when you consider just the offensive side, the trenches with the offensive line. Like, David Sanders and Lance Hurd have the potential to absolutely wreck edges and be a huge, like when we get so focused on quarterback and Joey Aguilar versus Jake Merklinger, so much of that might just be resolved from Lance Hurd and David Sanders being plug and play tackles who are just linchpins and have great pressure rates for PFF this year and protect Jake or Joey's blind side at an elite level. Guess what? That makes everybody look better. So I think that's a big part of it too. And that's the other thing is we'll talk to Bryce here in hour number 2. In terms of Darius Gray, 5-star interior guy who I think he had coming out of his OV last weekend, Tennessee at the top of his board. And he was just at LSU this weekend. It seems like that's a Tennessee-LSU battle. But would you rather go 5-star interior, Darius Gray, and just keep stacking 5 stars on the offensive line? Or do you want to go Tristan Keys at receiver? Like, it is interesting. That's what's so fascinating about modern-day roster management is it's not unlimited money, and you have to be careful with how you allocate it, and you're going to have to make tough calls, I'm sure, in where you go. But to me, if I did a hierarchy on the offensive side of the ball, like I think we're all in agreement, Tristan Givens, you take, like, that's one you just, if you can beat out A&M for him, that's a huge win. For me, I'd probably go Darius Gray 1, Savion Hyder 2, just because I saw what having a Dylan Sampson like workhorse can be for Josh Heupel's offense when he doesn't have the receivers or the tackle play is not ideal. Having just a bell cow running back saved Tennessee's year. So if you invest in Savion Hyder, at least I have a track record, and I know Tennessee will go in a situation where they're like, all right, we won't rotate as much because we just have a superstar back like they did a year ago. And we saw that. Like Dylan Sampson was one of the best running backs in college football. I could see that more with Savion Hyder. Tristan Keys is probably at the lowest of my list because they just have so much, what you said, they have so much young blue-chip talent in that room. 6 of their 7 receivers right now in Tennessee's wide receiver room are blue-chippers, 4 stars or higher. But the problem is you have one upperclassman, and it's Chris Brazzell, and he's a transfer. That's it. So I want transfers. I want older guys in that room. I wanted Dane Key. I wanted Kevin Coleman from Mississippi State. I wanted Isaiah Horton from Alabama, or from Miami, who's now in Alabama. He was an Oakland guy. Like, that would have been a great plug and play. You need vets in that room to help these young, super talented wide receivers that Tennessee has. I think the other spots, I would just put them at a premium. And Darius Gray is probably the biggest one, because if you have Darius Gray and William Satterwhite and David Sanders locked in here for several years, that's a big boy, super, super talented offensive line to pair with Tennessee's already super stacked defensive line. And like you said, Garrett, when you're just dominating people in the trenches, it doesn't really, the quarterback, the receiver, the other stuff just doesn't matter as much. And Tennessee's going to win a whole lot of games just because they're bigger and stronger than most teams they play on Saturdays.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you win games up front, like you said, like that's how you win games. I would rather construct an offensive line that has Sanders, another 5-star, 4 stars. Like if you have 4 and 5 stars in your offensive line, then your quarterback doesn't have to be dancing around the pocket the whole time. That cuts down on turnovers. More than likely, if this happens, your 5 stars and 4 stars are going to be constructed during the 2027 season. Guess who's going to be the quarterback? You're going to have a young Faison Brand at that point. Probably his second season. We'll see if he starts his freshman year. Either way, he's not going to be a vet in his second season of college football. If you have 5 stars in the offensive line, giving him time to get plays and get in the pocket, make plays, and then you have an elite defense, like I don't think you need elite wide receivers if you have an elite O-line, elite D-line. Like you just need decent wide receivers. Like you have a 5-star quarterback. Like if a quarterback is ranked that high and you have an offensive line that good and he has the time to get the ball out of his hands, like he will find the open receiver. Like you're gonna score points that way. You win the game up front. If you have an O-line You can have an elite O-line, or excuse me, a not-so-elite O-line like Colorado did this year, an elite quarterback, and a really good wide receiver room, and it doesn't matter because you're scrambling around the pocket like Shedeur did all year this year. Whereas you can be a team like Georgia. They have an elite offensive line. They might not have the most elite quarterback in Carson Beck, but it was like they were able to manage the games and win games that way. That's how the elite teams do it. The teams that have made the national championships in the past couple of years, they do it because they win battles up front.
100%. We'll leave it there. We'll wrap up hour number 1 with some Vanderbilt optimism from a certain Vanderbilt quarterback that we just have to address on this very program. So stick with us here on The Chase. It's a Tuesday. We got Garrett and Jay in here with us as we continue on to wrap up hour number 1 of The Chase. Stick with us. You can also join the program, 865-966-3435, if you want to give us your thoughts on this as well throughout the show. Again, that's 865-966-3435. And we'll be right back with more The Chase to wrap up hour number 1 right here, Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Stick with us. We'll be back right after this.
You're locked onto Fan Run Radio, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and online at fanrunradio.com.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the Volunteer State. Smoked daily by pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Located in Knoxville's historic Old City, Barley's offers great food, live music, the best draft beer selection in town, and now your new favorite place to watch sports. Their indoor projector is perfect for any weather, and they've revamped their upstairs area with more TVs to take in all of the action. Their menu features hand-battered chicken tenders, juicy burgers, fresh salads, and the tastiest pizza in Knoxville. You can enjoy their happy hour drink specials daily from open until 6 p.m. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Is your smile ready for the spotlight? Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco, and at Knoxville Smiles, we make every visit a reason to smile. From routine cleanings to dazzling cosmetic treatments, our experienced team uses the latest technology to keep your teeth healthy and your smile bright. With a warm, welcoming atmosphere and personalized care, we're here to make sure you leave feeling your best. Don't wait. Your perfect smile is just a call away. Book your appointment today at 865-539-1776 or online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
Do you love to gamble? Do you enjoy listening to people talk about gambling? Well, then I have some good news for you. Every weeknight at 6 p.m., you can hear John Reed and William Pattison go over the slate, thanks to our friends at VIP Play. Sports topics aren't always black and white, but on the slate, they are always green. Nothing but trends, angles, and bets to try to make you some money. The Slate, presented by VIP Sports on Fan Run Radio, weeknights from 6 to 7 p.m.
It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to us anywhere, wherever on that free Fan Run Radio app. Make sure you download that today. If you have not already done so, you can listen to us on 105.7 FM, 1340 AM as well. So we wrap up hour number 1 here on a Tuesday. Fellas, we have to talk about Diego Pavia and his recent comments on Bussin' with the Boys this week where I didn't think it was real. You know, the NBA Centel account?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me when I saw this, and I was like, there's no way the quarterback of the Vanderbilt Commodores said something so egregious, so silly, so what is that term? not billboard material. What is it? Blackboard material? What is it?
I know what you're talking about.
Bullet board? Or no,
bulletin board?
Bulletin board material. Yeah. That's what we're going with. The natural bulletin board material there that is so unnecessary. You are not coming off a win. You're coming off an absolutely abysmal performance against Tennessee's defense. Tennessee, part of the reason you were up early was just the surprise kick return touchdown, and Tennessee was kind of like shell-shocked there for a little bit. But then Dante Thornton got free a couple times, and Tennessee settled in and proceeded to blow out the Vanderbilt Commodores on the road in the cold there in Nashville.
Pretty much home, though.
Pretty much home. Fellas, they went 1-4 down the stretch. The offense really took a nosedive down the stretch. Diego Pavia got extremely beat up. That style of play over the course of a full conference slate of SEC football clearly had a long-term effect on Vanderbilt football. Like, yeah, great win. You upset Alabama at home. Do you know who you didn't upset? You didn't upset the Tennessee Volunteers at home. You got embarrassed at home by Tennessee in that final game. They were 72nd in 2025 recruiting rankings behind Georgia State. We're talking about like Vanderbilt starting
They lost to them this year too, or last year too.
It's ridiculous. The quote being, this is going to be the new staple of college football. It's going to happen here at Vanderbilt. I mean, just talking about them running Tennessee, Diego talking about running Tennessee is one of the more NBA Centel college football takes that I've seen in a long time. And just, what are we doing? What are we doing? You just lost Caden Harris, your big-time 4-star cornerback recruit, to Georgia. Takes a Georgia OV. Yeah, I'm going to go to Georgia. Thanks, but no thanks. What are we doing? Like, your over-under going into this year is, what, 4.5? What are we doing?
Look, I mean, if you're the quarterback for Vanderbilt, what are you going to say? Oh, we're going to suck this year. No, he's not. But then again, at the same time, like, that was just insane to say. Like, Tennessee or Vanderbilt's going to be running Tennessee. Like, what have you done in the past, like, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that? Like,
Vanderbilt is going to run Tennessee after this year.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? What are we doing here?
They got like 3 or 4 lucky wins in the 2010s, and
they're not going bowling this year. Have y'all looked at their schedule? This is a 4-8, 3-9 team.
They got to play in Tuscaloosa for Bama.
You're not beating Tuscaloosa. You're not beating the Tide back-to-back years.
No.
Like, what are we doing? You got 28-7 against South Carolina. You look at their schedule. There's a reason their over-under is 4.5, I believe. You get Georgia State at home, who's out-recruiting you at the moment. You got to go to South Carolina. You get LSU at home, Mizzou at home. You get at Texas, Auburn at home. You're not beating Auburn again. I mean, Pavia, I guess, until Auburn can prove that they can beat Diego Pavia, maybe that is the one they get back. You get Kentucky at home. That's nice. But then you close at Tennessee. This is a 3-9, 4-8 schedule. There's not this, like, budding, like, oh, Vanderbilt's going to be – they're right there. What are we doing? The SEC East and West are gone. Like, we are now top 1 through 16. You are in the bottom 3 of just hierarchy and what you can ultimately be. You're right there with Kentucky. You're right there with Mississippi State. I do respect in some level being like, I'm really a big believer in my abilities. Like, he is a big-time Vanderbilt guy. Like, he is going to be a Vanderbilt legend forever.
Yeah.
That's great. All that being said, man, just read the room. Like, you're not running Tennessee. What are we talking about? There's a way to hype up your own program, and, like, we're excited about what we're building. Barton Simmons, super bright guy running that GM department. Like, we're excited about the way we're identifying talent. I mean, Clark Lee deserves credit for identifying Jerry Kill and bringing in that staff and being like, we got to change things up, and we're going to run a kind of gimmicky, fun offense, our own version of kind of like you're running the triple sometimes last year. Like, it was fun. You had great memories. You played well, by and large. It's a good year for Vanderbilt. Great year for Vanderbilt. You're not anywhere close to running the state of Tennessee. You're going to be 20-plus point dogs going to Neyland Stadium to close this season. You're probably going to get destroyed coming to Neyland this season. I just cannot believe you're just throwing that out there here on June 17th. And where you're at, Vanderbilt is not a team about to break out. You will be a 4-8, 3-9 type team. What are we doing?
No, I mean, I could look at it from 2 ways. The first way would be as a Tennessee fan, which we just addressed a minute ago, which would be like, what an idiot. Like, why is he saying this? The second part of me is kind of like, as a football fan, kind of like, I kind of respect this guy. Like, he plays at a JUCO school, goes to New Mexico State, comes over at Jerry Kill to Vanderbilt, beats Alabama in his first year, crap talks them on the Vanderbilt 50-yard line, has Alabama players in shambles, beats Auburn a couple weeks later for his second year in a row beating Auburn, almost beats Texas. Like, it was a fun month run. And honestly, like, I like him and I like Clark Lee. Like, I think that, like, it was fun to watch what they did last year. Are they going to do it again this year? Probably not. Like, it's a pretty ridiculous statement. Like, can you imagine if Preston Stone was like, Northwestern this year, we're going to run the Big Ten. Like, we went 3-9 last year, guys, but we're gonna run the Big Ten this year. Like, it's just, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a crazy statement, but at the same time, like, if you're a Vanderbilt fan that hasn't had very much joy as a fan other than outside of the James Franklin years, I would maybe be kind of hyped up. I kind of respect a quarterback that goes to a school like that hasn't been very good in football and just says that. But if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. You got to win some games this year. If you don't win some games this year, this is going to be like the biggest meme in December when he went on Bussin' with the Boys and said that he owned the state of Tennessee, and then he lost at Neyland Stadium by 35 points.
Social media is going to have a field day after the Tennessee game, though.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that Tennessee's like, oh, because it's the Mizzou stuff. Remember, like, Tennessee's still bombing away against Mizzou in 2022, where they're just like, Joe Milton's in there throwing 60-yard bombs, where Neuheisel's on the broadcast like, oh, like, I don't know if y'all remember that, but he like just absolutely is apoplectic that Tennessee's launching 60-yard bombs. But it's like, hey, that's the offense, and if you can't stop it, like, that's not our job. This is a conference game. Like, it's not like we're playing Kent State or ETSU. Like, no, like, you got to defend. I'm okay with that. But that's something you're setting yourself up for with all this talk. What are you doing?
I mean, it is bulletin board. This is literally something that some coaches would literally print out the quote and stick it on a bulletin board in the locker room to hype up his team. Like, this is it's just one of the things as a player. I mean, I know it's the off season.
Yeah.
But still, it's just kind of one of the things.
Poor Jordan Matthews, man.
You say it within your locker room.
Yes.
You know, it's not really something that leaves your locker room.
But again, you don't have to bring Tennessee into this. You're creating a hornet's nest that doesn't need to exist because, to your point, like, there is something admirable and cool about what Diego Pavia has proven, and he was gutsy. I mean, like you said, against Texas and Alabama alone, gutsy, great stuff. Auburn, it's hilarious that Auburn can't beat Diego Pavia, whether he's at New Mexico State or at Vanderbilt. You can do all of this without saying, we're going to run. And he's talking about next year, like post-Diego Pavia. There is no post-Diego Pavia.
Yeah, they don't have the A.J. Swan, like, QB2 backup route anymore. Like,
and I mean, what? Jay Cutler's not walking through that door. Who's coming in back? Like, what are we talking about?
Vanderbilt's never going to be an attractive place where 4- and 5-star talent is going to visit and be like, yeah, this is the spot. Like, there's nothing against it. Like, it's a great academic, place. They have a spot in the SEC for their academics. They're one of the founding members. They're, one of the best baseball teams of the past 20-something years. Like, they belong in the SEC. They're that one team, they're of the smart school. Like, Stanford and Cal is in the ACC, or Northwestern is in the Big Ten. Like, pretty much most conferences have something like that. That's what they are to our conference. But they're never going to be a team that brings in 4- and 5-star talent. They don't have the football stadium. They don't have the fan base. They don't have the athletic facilities. Like, it's just not – they're never going to be that. And they can – I mean, I respect the fact that they want to be that, but it's just it's never going to be a spot that high-level high school prospects are going to want to go to.
No. Tennessee's not going anywhere. Like, someone just quote tweeted on X, no context Vols. Vanderbilt would have to win the next 49 matchups to even the series versus the Vols.
It's like what we've done to Kentucky, basically, but worse. I mean, they did beat us a couple times. What was that, 2016 when they beat us? That one especially stings. I mean, that was a pretty,
I mean, you lose to Vanderbilt, Tennessee, you're fired. Like, you're on the hot seat.
Well, that 2016 team was tough because that was the year you beat Georgia,
you would have gone to the Hail Mary Bowl if you beat Vanderbilt.
You had the heartbreaking loss to Texas A&M in double overtime. You kind of weathered the schedule. You lost to Alabama, but and you lost to Florida. Or no, excuse me, you beat Florida, and you beat Florida in 2016. You lost to Alabama. Like, you kind of weathered the schedule, and then you get to that game, and it wasn't even really close. Like, they kind of just ran through Tennessee the entire time. That's a game that, like, happens, once every 25 years? Like, that's not something that's going to happen very often.
This is like a 42-7, 49-7 shellacking coming in Neyland Stadium.
I hope so.
This is just, what are we doing? Like, this is now, this score could get really ugly, watch. You've now opened the door for Tennessee to make a statement for that final game.
Vanderbilt's ever been a team that, like, people have ever, like, there's never been the level of hate to Vanderbilt that we give, like, Florida or Alabama.
No.
Because, like, we know we're going to win the game. Like, their fans, for the most part, are fine. Like, they don't have any, they can't say anything because they haven't really, other than baseball, they can't really talk.
Yeah. They don't even run base. Maybe where this is coming from. Tennessee running the state in baseball now. That's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough for Vandy.
And I don't know. It's just not a fan base that really you want to hate, or like a school that you want to hate. But it's like when things like this are said, it's tough to get past it.
I agree. We'll wrap up here. Hour number 1 right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. It's The Chase, hour 1 in the books. Garrett, Jay, good first hour here. We'll have a whole lot more Tennessee talk, and we'll have Locked On Cubs action here to talk a little Cubs with an insider, Matt Cozy of Locked On Cubs. We'll pick his brain on where things stand with them. We'll talk to Bryce Kuhn of Go247 to talk about the LSU-Tennessee recruiting battles here down the stretch, and a little bit of Brian Kelly hot seat questions for LSU. So jam-packed hour number 2 here on The Chase. Make sure you stay with us right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. As always, you can be a part of the show, 865-966-3435 as well. Hour number 2 coming up right after this.
Ready to launch your career? Axle Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axle proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axle, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axle Logistics is the place to start your career.
Ever been the coach who realized the team's gear just wasn't up to par? Well, if I'm being honest, that was me. Just a downright irresponsible and plain bad coach. Then, SM Athletics changed the game. I want you to picture this. I walk into their store, a coach with a vision. SM Athletics didn't just see a coach. They saw a team's potential, and they delivered custom uniforms so striking. Our team's spirit soared. From cutting-edge apparel to top-notch equipment, SM Athletics transformed our presence. No more unreliable online orders or envying the other team's style. SM Athletics stands for quality, design, and on-time delivery every time. Coaches, elevate your team with SM Athletics. Call 865-966-3434 or visit smathletics.com. Get the best for your team, delivered right and on time. So, elevate your team's game by contacting SM Athletics today.
Now, it's time for your Atlanta Braves morning update. Presented by Tidal Wave Auto Spa. Get clean car happy at any of the 250-plus Tidal Wave Auto Spa locations today.
A big 3-game set with the Mets coming up tonight. I'm Barrett Salee, and this is your Braves Radio Network morning update.
Get clean car happy all season long at Tidal Wave with exclusive membership discounts, giveaways, and more. Visit TidalWaveAutoSpa.com/Braves for more information.
The biggest series of the year coming your way tonight. Mets in town for a 3-game set coming off the Braves taking 2 of 3 from the Rockies, but Sunday was a bit of a disappointment as the Rockies put up 9 runs over the final 3 innings in a 10-1 victory over the Braves. Grant Holmes did have 15 strikeouts in a loss in that one. Grant Holmes started because Chris Sale got moved back to Wednesday so he could play against the Mets. Got a big pitching matchup on Tuesday before we get to Sale, though. Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound for the Braves tonight, 5-4, 3.11 ERA, 84 strikeouts, 14 walks, and a 1.00 whip. David Peterson on the mound for the Mets. He's 5-2, has a 2.49 ERA, 71 strikeouts, 25 walks, and a 1.19 whip. For leadoff show coverage coming your way at 6:05 Central. First pitch against the Mets from Truist Park, 7:15 Eastern, 6:15 Central, right here on the Braves Radio Network.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-639-8620. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car. And as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-639-8620. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-639-8620. That's 1-800-639-8620.
It's The Chase here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Download that Fan Run Radio app if you have not already. It's free, and you can listen to all of our shows here 13 hours a day, Monday through Friday, on the Fan Run Radio app. You can also listen to us on FM 1057, 1340 AM. You can also get in touch with the show and be a part of the program by calling us at 865-966-3435. Jam-packed hour number 2 here on The Chase, week number 3. G5 Garrett. Appalachian State time here at the top of hour 2 as we continue on our G5 preview series, and we'll talk some SEC sleepers in 2025 as well here before we bring on Locked On Cubs Matt Cozy. Garrett, Appalachian State, what should the good folks know, our college football super fans here in East Tennessee, about the Mountaineers in 2025? Who's their new QB1 post Joey Aguilar, and Dow Logan's taking over, formerly OC at South Carolina?
The Mountaineers are here. We're going to talk about them today. Obviously, they had a pretty rough season last year with the hurricane and everything, knocking out one of their home games. They didn't get to play against Liberty, so they only played an 11-game schedule last year. Unfortunately, they did not make a bowl game last year. Last year is one of their worst seasons that they've had in Boone in a number of years. When you think about Appalachian State, you usually think about the 2007 game against Michigan at the time. They were FCS. Obviously blocked the kick to beat Michigan 34-32. One of the most memorable moments in college football history, at least for myself. Kind of always a team that's up there in the group of 5 as one of the top teams, and it's kind of solidified themselves as definitely the top team, one of the top teams in the Sun Belt over the past couple of years. But yeah, their QB1 this year is going to be A.J. Swan, so they're going to get some SEC talent. Started his career at Vanderbilt before he transferred to LSU last year, then transferred on up to App State this past year. They bring in some wide receiver talent by the names of Jaden Barnes and Davion Dozier. Jaden Barnes is going to be a wide receiver from the FCS level. Austin Peay in Tennessee, he was a 1,000-yard receiving wide receiver last year, 58 receptions, 1,066 yards, 9 TDs. 18.4 yards per catch. Anytime I see numbers like that, especially at the FCS level, I get really excited because I think a player like that can make an immediate impact going to the FBS level. If you have almost 20 yards per catch, that really shows that you're a deep ball threat. And when you have a quarterback like A.J. Swan, I feel like he's going to be able to get the ball to him. You also bring in another player, Davion Dozier, who's another transfer. And then you also bring in Jackson Greer, wide receiver from Boise State. You bring in Rashad Dubinson, running back from Arkansas. And you also bring in some more offensive line talent coming from Virginia Tech, Lance Williams, and Tyreek Poindexter from the Virginia Military Institute, who is a solid FCS player as well over there in the SoCon Conference. Returning on offense, you have Dalton Stroman, who was a solid wide receiver last year. He's going to be kind of their ex-wide receiver. Griffin Scruggs at left guard. Jaden Ramsey at right guard will be coming back. And Kanan Hamlet at tight end will also be returning, with Kane Roberts also returning at running back. So should be a pretty solid offense this year, a mixture between transfers incoming and players that have been there. The defense, they bring back a lot more. Their 2 transfers are in Christian Conyer at quarterback and Dylan Hayes over at the nickel position. And then it looks like most of their secondary and up front is going to be pretty similar. So the thing that I would be most concerned about this team is we talked about kind of the opposite yesterday, in that when we talked about Georgia Southern last year, they brought back a bunch in their offensive line, how most of their front 7 had played over the past couple years, and especially on their offensive line, they had a lot of returning talent that started most of all 13 games this year. This year you're going to have, a couple new positions and definitely some transfers on that offensive line. So I think at the G5 level, that's always a little bit interesting when your offensive line changes year in and year out.
Yeah, and what's weird is they were about in the 60s in S&P Plus offensively last year, but the defense was 110. This is one of the FBS's worst defenses. And the weird part about what's happening this year, so they returned the least amount of production from a season ago outside of Marshall, who also made a head coaching change this offseason. They returned 27%, 36% for App State, but the majority is on defense, on a bad defense. So you're returning like half your starters on defense in your production there, but the turnover is on offense, and that's where you were actually better last season. So you kind of wonder what that means for App State. I don't know where you stand on Dowell, but he was kind of up and down as a coordinator at the NFL level, Chicago, a couple stops there. And then last year, I think he's getting a lot of credit for the Lenora Sellers renaissance for the Gamecocks in 2024. So if you're a App State fan, you're excited about that part of it, what happens there. But I don't know, were you inspired by the Dowell Logan's hire? Obviously, Carolina history there a little bit, but they've been so insular, in terms of who they hire, whether it's Sean Clark, Satterfield, Drinkwitz. It felt like they like staying in the family, the App State family, and this is one where there's no real direct ties. I don't know. It was kind of an odd hire when it came about, and I still, now that a little bit of time has passed, I don't love it, but I also felt the same about Coastal when they replaced Jamie Chadwell with Beck, and that one looks like it might be going better than I anticipated with the Chanticleers, but yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a very inspiring hire, and I don't know if I'm overthinking it. Where are you at with Dowell?
Yeah, no, when that happened, I definitely thought it was a little bit strange. I don't know. I just felt like they could have, with the budget that they have, they're kind of one of the top G5 budget teams. You would just expect them to go out and probably, not that it was a bad hire, I just would have thought they would have maybe gone for an active head coach that was looking for maybe a different job, or maybe a coordinator in the FBS that had, great success over the past couple of years, that maybe wanted to get out of the G5 for a head coaching job. It just seemed like it was a bit odd, especially to go in the offensive direction when it seems like the defense, he's an offensive-minded guy, and the defense over the past couple of years has been kind of, I guess, more or less what's held them back. Now, I do think he can develop A.J. Swan, obviously SEC talent. If you develop him into being one of the top quarterbacks in Group of 5, which he obviously could be, you bring back Dalton Stroman to the wide receiver room, who had 15.4 yards per catch last year, and then you bring back, like I said, you bring in Jaden Barnes from Boston Peavy. You have a wide receiver room and a good quarterback, and then they return their running back in Kane Roberts from last year. I don't know. It's just when you have a new center and you have new guys on the offensive line, are they going to be able to create enough protection for your quarterback to be able to get the ball to those wide receivers? That's going to be the main question. And, the defense, I don't know. It just seems like it was kind of a question mark last year. They didn't really have too much turnover on the defense. So we'll just have to see if that side of the ball improves. But last I looked, they had I believe it was the 103rd returning production in the country. Most of that obviously was on the offense, but I think this is really kind of a question mark team, really, until you get a few weeks into the season and you see what everything looks like.
And there is precedent for this, the A.J. Swan renaissance in Boone. Chase Bryce, multiple transfer. It was a Clemson guy. He was from Powerhouse in Georgia as well, at Grayson. He's at Clemson for a while, and then he goes to Duke, and then he's at App State, and he was great at App State for multiple seasons. So maybe that's A.J. Swan. Maybe A.J. with a couple years in the SEC. He's not an SEC guy, But what if he's a high-end Sun Belt guy, and Dow Logans is able to unlock him in a similar way to how he was able to unlock Lenora Sellers at South Carolina last year? Like, maybe that is, because Dow had the history with Jay Cutler. That was more of his bread, but more of the pocket passer types. So I wonder how he fits. Like, if you're an App State optimist, I think that's the most intriguing part about this is we're really in the weeds, but could this be our Chase Bryce if you're a Mountaineer fan going into 25? Because I think A.J. Swan could be pretty good there.
Yeah, and I know you want to get on, to the SEC talk in a second, but I just wanted to, their schedule out of conference this year, their schedule all the way through is pretty brutal. Their schedule out of conference is really interesting. They play a Thursday night kickoff game against Charlotte week 1 in Charlotte. This is going to be Tim Albin's first game over there at Charlotte coming down from Ohio. I think that's going to be an interesting game. I think Tim Albin's going to have that Charlotte team ready to go. You play FCS team Lindenwood the next week. Then you go to at Southern Miss, which is going to be a game for Huff, where obviously he comes from Marshall to Southern Miss. Then you have to go out to Boise State. You play at Boise State. I think that's going to be a tough game to to win. Then you host Oregon State, who is, they're
Malik Murphy over there now. We'll see.
Yeah, that's still a big school. You go to Georgia State. It's probably a win. You host Coastal. That's kind of a 50-50 game. You go to ODU. You should win that. Georgia Southern rivalry game. That one's going to be in Boone this year on a Thursday night. That one should be pretty interesting. At James Madison, hosting Marshall and hosting Arkansas State. But those out-of-conference games, man, those are pretty difficult games. I would say this team's hopefully an 8-win team, but I honestly think that a 6 or 7-win team may be more of what we see this year.
And that's okay. If Dow Logans and the quarterback play looks a lot better and A.J. Swan looks like a hit, you'll take 6 or 7 wins this year. Because last year was one of your worst years, like you said, in a long time in Boone. And it's just weird. Like us growing up on elite App State football, it was just odd. And again, this is like the overlooked part about this whole Joey Aguilar part of Tennessee is like everyone's just looking at the UCLA part. Staff got cleaned out this past year at App State, and he was the QB1 on one of the worst App State teams in a long time.
Yeah, and they had tough circumstances with the hurricane. Their, part of their city was washed away. I'm not going to say that was all the reason for why they played bad, but that definitely, I would assume that definitely heavily contributed to some of the, that's a tough thing to deal with off the field.
For sure.
With school and your campus and everything. So I think last year you kind of just have to throw out the window, and you just got to get back on the upward spiral this year because you just have to forget about last year. There were unforeseen circumstances. You just got to let that last season go.
I love it. G5 Garrett in the house. Let's do Marshall tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's do Marshall. Let's check in Tony Gibson.
The guys up in Huntington?
Guys up in Huntington. I will tell you, I'm pro Marshall on this program. Not a good-looking campus. If you look at the Marshall campus,
really,
it's not a good look.
Never been to West Virginia.
Neither have I.
I've been to West Virginia, just not near Marshall, not near Huntington.
I think it's down this. It's in a city.
It's more on like the west side. I want
to
say, right? Yeah.
It's near Kentucky, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So we'll dive into Marshall. Big turnover there as well. Charles Huff moving into another Sun Belt job.
Yes.
Over there at Southern Miss. So we'll get into the Golden Eagles as well. But great stuff from G5 Garrett there. Final thing before we take a break and bring on Locked On Cubs Matt Cozy to talk some Chicago Cubs. SEC sleeper that nobody is talking about right now to you, Jay. Who do you have right now that is the sleeper? And you can say Tennessee if you want.
Tennessee.
There you go.
I mean, like realistically thinking, it's probably Tennessee because the defense is going to be almost just as good as last year, if not better. We got a new quarterback in town. I don't know. The one question mark is obviously the wide receiver room, and maybe the O-line may not break out. But again, just the way I see it, they're made to be able to play into games this year, and I just don't like how they're being seen as a mid-tier SEC school. So I think it's going to be Tennessee, realistically speaking.
I am very bullish on Tennessee. You know who I think we can't throw out? I think Texas has got enough hype. I don't think Texas is ever going to be one like, oh, watch out for Texas. They're going to get the preseason hype every year, I think, during the SEC. Just the way they recruit. They haven't won anything yet. Georgia won the SEC this past year, and Texas is still talked about like they're running this conference. I will say, the one, if I don't throw Tennessee out there, and I wonder if y'all agree with this, but I think it's Alabama. because Alabama, Ty Simpson, we'll see. He's waited his turn. Kalen DeBoer, it wasn't a great year, but I don't think that was a great fit between him and Jalen Milroe's skill set. Ryan Williams is back. Proctor is back. I think the offensive line's going to be really good. They're loaded at receiver with Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, and Isaiah Horton. That is a dangerous three-man unit. And if Ty Simpson lives up to the billing, because remember, he's a forgotten five-star that's just been there forever. He's more of that pocket guy that that Kalen DeBoer thrived with at Washington with Michael Penix. If you were to tell me Alabama was the best team in the SEC this year, that wouldn't surprise me. I think they're loaded on defense. They bring back some key guys, especially at linebacker. We'll see what their front seven looks like as a whole. They're going to be good in the secondary. They bring Ryan Grubb back, who was away for a year with the Seattle Seahawks. He didn't come originally with Kalen DeBoer to Alabama. I know a lot of Vol fans don't want to hear this, but I would not be surprised if Alabama is the best team in the SEC this year. If things go right with Ty Simpson, where I think that's very much in the cards and would not be at all surprised, Tennessee guy, Ty Simpson, I think they have the talent and the pieces to put it together to have a special year. Kalen DeBoer doesn't lose regular season games. You look at his history, Kalen DeBoer, he is one of the 5 best coaches in college football. And I think it's just a uniquely hard job, and they didn't get to where they wanted to go last year at Bama. But remember, this is a team, they beat Georgia. They were up big on Georgia out of the gate, and Georgia comes fighting back. But I think Alabama, it would not surprise me if Alabama was the best team in the SEC next year. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to sleep on Alabama. When
I know, but it does, right? No Saban. People are sleeping on him a little bit.
I agree. This is probably the least they've been talked about in 15 years, at least. At least since Saban's been there, or I guess since he wasn't there. But yeah. No, I agree.
Just watch out, Kalen DeBoer, one of the best, and a lot of pressure on Alabama this year because you can't go 9-4 at Bama in year 2. No. It's just different rules at Alabama, and I think there's a lot of pressure, but I think there's a lot of reason for optimism there. That's gonna be a big one for the Vols when they go to Tuscaloosa on that 3rd Saturday in October. We'll see, and who knows? Maybe it's not Ty Simpson. Maybe it's Keelan Russell, true freshman. Maybe it's Austin Mack, who came in from UW as well. So they have options, but don't overlook Alabama. I think Alabama has a lot of possibilities of being the best team in the SEC this year. Coming back, we'll talk to Locked On Cubs Matt Cozy to talk all things Chicago Cubs. Big series with the Brewers coming up this week. With the AA affiliate Knoxville Smokies, we'll always talk Cubs here every week on The Chase, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. Stick with us. Hour number 2 well underway. Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7, 1340 AM. Stick with us, and we'll be right back after this.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Believe in family. Believe in your fellow man. Believe in honesty and an honest day's work. We do. We're Farm Bureau Insurance. And we don't just believe in Tennessee. We believe in Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Insurance, Tennessee's insurance company.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance for Tennesseans. Believe in me for all of your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Hey, Pack Rat. Yeah, you. Are you moving cross-country and you just don't know who to call? Call us right now. Listen, you've probably seen one of our containers in your neighborhood. But did you know that we can help you move anywhere in the United States? It's real simple. We'll drop a container off at the location you tell us to bring it to. You pack up your valuable possessions at your leisure. They stay safe right in your home. And when you're ready, call us. We'll come and pick up the container and give you a scheduled date of when your furniture and the other possessions will be at your new home. So if you're moving across country or across town, be a Pack Rat. Join the Pack Rat family. Call Pack Rat right now for your free quote. See y'all later, Pack Rats.
Call 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. 800-965-1298. That's 800-965-1298.
Are you looking for a treat that will knock it out of the park at the next watch party? Just like your favorite baseball team, Crumble brings the best lineup week to week with an expanded roster that includes key lime pie, strawberry cake, or my personal favorite, Monster featuring M&M candies. Let Crumble treat you to the best cookies in the game. Download the Crumble app and start earning rewards. You can even vote monthly on what flavors you would like to see at any store of your choice. Warmer weather is here, so get to the ballpark, but don't miss the cookies.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
It's the Chase here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. It's time to talk some Chicago Cubs for all the Chicago Cubs fans we have right here in East Tennessee with the Knoxville Smokies. We had his co-host on last week of Locked On Cubs, a great Chicago Cubs daily podcast, Matt Cozy. Matt, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hey, Chase. Good. Thanks for having me on. Exciting time with the Cubs here, and I've listened to most of the show today. It's been a enjoyable listen. You guys talking football makes me want to drink a sweet iced tea.
There you go. Are you a Vols guy too? Are we getting Vols Cubs crossover?
No. I appreciate your football discussion in the middle of June.
Oh, we got you covered. Monday through Friday, 1 to 3, right here on the Chase. We will talk college football every single day.
Love it.
I love it. Well, we're actually going to talk some Chicago Cubs here because we are in the heart of baseball season, and I want to do anything other than talk Atlanta Braves right now, Matt. We got to look at the Cubs, who are going into a big-time series with the Brewers this week. What's been going on from last Tuesday to now, though, with the Chicago Cubs? What's been the biggest storyline?
Yeah, I think the biggest storyline, Chase, is that their offense is in a little bit of a stall mode right now. And despite that, they're still winning games. And that's a major departure from the last 2 years where they flirted with contention at times, but they built themselves too big of a hole, especially around now. Like the May-June time in 2023 was a nightmare. And then really the same thing happened last year. And this year, it hasn't even come close to that. And so that's why I think a lot of us are still encouraged despite, scoring 2 or 3 runs against the Rockies and 2 or 3 runs against the Reds and 2 or 3 runs against the Pirates. They barely scored over the weekend. They won 3 out of 4 against the Pirates. So, that's mostly in thanks to the starting pitching, which has held serve even without their top 2 guys. The bullpen has had a major resurgence since mid-April. They're number 1 in baseball. And their base running and defense has been at an elite level. So I think we're calming our own fears about the offense just because prior to the last 3 weeks it was so good. And, when all the parts are flowing together, you definitely start to dream of something special this year.
Does it feel like that's where things are headed? How much does just the NL Central and the Brewers kind of fallen apart finally here for the NL Central, because they've just kind of had a stranglehold the last couple of years? Is it just kind of one of those where it just feels like the guard is changing here a little bit, and we're entering an era where the Cubs have built something sustainable to be the best team in the Central for the next couple of years here?
That sounds right. For the most part, the roster has key players who are under control through the 2026 season. But then there's other key pieces that are really just in their first or second year, especially Pete Crow Armstrong out there in center field. So you do feel like this could be the start of something sustainable. But, that's why this week is pretty big in our minds, because as Cubs fans, You're playing the Brewers today, tomorrow, and Thursday. You've been chasing them really the last 6-7 years. Not just the last couple. And the Cardinals were in second place for a while, but they're fading. The Reds never really mounted any threats. The Pirates aren't a serious team. And then so really it comes back down to the Cubs and Brewers. But I think for the most part, considering your original question, I do think all those other teams are going to be chasing the Cubs this year. And we knew Kyle Tucker was the star, but the emergence of Pete Crow Armstrong and clearly being a second star now really has you wondering not only about the NL Central, but how do the Cubs stack up against the Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, and could they actually go for a 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs? So certainly NL Central's the focus, especially in June, but part of the fun of all this is thinking a little bigger as well.
What's going on with the offense? Are you concerned at all, or are things fine outside of Pete Crow Armstrong?
Yeah, we are concerned just because the last 3 weeks they're literally 30th in baseball in average, 30th in baseball in on-base percentage, and 25th in slug. So naturally you do have a little bit of concern, but the last 3 weeks they're 12-7. Mm-hmm. And so you don't really spend too much time in that concern level like we did the last 2 years. You don't really let your mind wander too much there because they're taking care of business against good teams and bad, but really the recent stretch is mostly good teams, especially coming up here. So yeah, I don't really see a lot of glaring things. They're just not scoring a lot. They're putting the ball in play. I mean, they are striking out a little more the last 3 weeks, but they're really just hitting into a lot of outs, and maybe that's just a pocket where that's happening more often than not, as it does anyway in this game. But again, going back to just their wins and losses, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And even though they're last in some important offensive categories the last 3 weeks, for them to be 12-7, I think you do take some positives in that.
If you could add one player who you think might be available this summer that would make the most sense for the Cubs, you can do one. You can add one guy. Who is it?
Well, it's definitely a starting pitcher, and so are we talking like on the prism of realism, or are we playing fantasy baseball?
Let's do prism of realism.
I think Jacob deGrom.
Okay.
The Rangers are set up to still contend this year, but their record says otherwise.
Uh-huh.
deGrom is back. He's healthy. He's pitching like a number one, and he's also under control beyond this season. So you'd have to overpay to get him. But if there was any indication that the Cubs are serious about winning the World Series, they would make a deal like that.
Okay. I like that. Jacob deGrom, kind of out there. I like it.
Matt, thanks for coming on. Obviously, you have two elite players in PCA, Kyle Tucker leading the NL All-Star Game voting right now in the outfield. What's one player that you think could make an impact that fans may not necessarily understand how impactful he is, maybe in the postseason, where you're like, wow, we're really lucky that this guy's on our team and just brings out just constant goodness every time he steps out on the field?
I would say on the bases, because fans are realizing how good this kid is defensively. I think we've known that for a long time, even as he was coming up through the minor leagues. He has the ability to go get it. He has a plus arm. You can see how he's doing at the plate, and he does offer some power as well. But in terms of the question, which I really like the premise of the question, because when he gets on first, you do feel like he could be on second, the next pitch or two. And what's really been a cool twist has been when he's on second, you feel like he could steal third base which in the major leagues is just so rare, especially with the shorter throw from catcher to third. So, yeah, I really think when we're talking about October baseball or down the stretch, when he gets on base, he just puts so much pressure on the pitcher, right? Who is he quick to the plate? Is he slow to the plate? And then just on the defense in general.
That's interesting. When you look at one of the interesting things, too, about how Jed Hoyer and company have built this particular version of the Chicago Cubs, it's not homegrown guys here. You're right there with the A.J. Preller San Diego Padres as 29th in homegrown guys. You've had to be really active in the free agent market. How good of a job have they done building this team and building this winner through free agency rather than building from just the traditional farm system approach?
Yeah, pretty good. And I would say their last sell-off in their major ones in 2021 and 22, they acquired a lot of the young guys that are contributing now. Like Daniel Palencia is their closer right now. He was a no-name prospect in the Andrew Chafin trade a few seasons ago. Pete Crow Armstrong for Javi Baez. And then you could go down the list a little bit. And then I do think, when you reflect on it, Jed Hoyer has made some solid signings, especially entering this year. Matthew Boyd, Brad Keller. There's been some others as well. And then really being bold in the trade market. I think it goes back to December 13th. They complete the trade for Kyle Tucker, and that's just a major departure of what they've done in the past. But Jed identified, hey, we have a pretty good supporting cast here with Seiya and Haft, Warner, Swanson, Michael Bush. But we really do need someone to put us over the top. And so going on the outside and getting a player like Tucker, I think, has really just snowballed everything else. And then when you combine that with the young guys like a PCA or a Shaw, Miguel Amaya when he comes back at catcher, I think they have done a nice job of blending the outside additions with really building their system internally. And they have a lot of prospects that we keep hearing about that are knocking the door of the show at AAA, but there's just no place to put them, which is why the trade market the next 6 weeks gets really intriguing for them, because I think they are going to be willing to deal these guys that we keep hearing about and getting talent that could really impact them this year, especially, if this is a one-and-done situation with Tucker.
Final thing, we'll get you out on here on this. We have a Brewers fan here on this very program right now. Intern Jay King. It's a big series this week for the Cubs and the Brewers. What's the matchup that you have circled that you're most curious about here over the next couple of days?
Who, me?
Well, it's probably tomorrow. The Brewers' hotshot prospect, Mizorowski on the mound. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. You could let me know, but he came out of the gate strong last week, and so I'm really curious how he does at Wrigley Field against basically the opposite end of the spectrum. Jameson Taillon has been around, a decade plus in the major league, so he's been great the last few outings. So I'm intrigued by that one the most, because the Cubs are favored tonight by quite a bit. And Thursday, I'm not saying I'm chalking that up as a Cubs loss, but I respect the Brewers a lot, and especially Freddie Peralta. And so if I work backwards, I think Thursday is the least winnable game. Tomorrow is like that floater. And then tonight, just based on working backwards, I really feel like the Cubs got to win tonight to lead off the series.
I love it. Locked On Cubs, Monday through Friday. Great stuff every day on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel, podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Matt, keep up the great work, my friend, and we'll check back in again soon.
All right. Thanks, Chase. Appreciate it.
There you go. Matt Causey over here talking all things Chicago Cubs. We had his co-host on last week talking Cubs. We had Matt on today. He was fantastic. Hope you guys enjoyed Matt's insight into what's going on with the Cubs here with a big series coming up with the Brewers. We'll wrap up hour number 2 on today's show with Bryce Kuhn of Go 247 to talk all things LSU versus Tennessee with some big-time falls recruiting battles against the Bayou Bengals, along with some Brian Kelly questions in a pivotal year for Brian Kelly, the old Notre Dame coach, as the expectations are sky high for Garrett Nussmeier, Brian Kelly, and the Tigers and company. So we'll wrap up hour number 2 with that. Stick with us. It's Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, The Chase, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. We'll be right back after this.
You're locked onto Fan Run Radio, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and online at fanrunradio.com.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the volunteer state. Smoked daily by pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Located in Knoxville's historic Old City, Barley's offers great food, live music, the best draft beer selection in town, and now your new favorite place to watch sports. Their indoor projector is perfect for any weather, and they've revamped their upstairs area with more TVs to take in all of the action. Their menu features hand-battered chicken tenders, juicy burgers, fresh salads, and the tastiest pizza in Knoxville. You can enjoy their happy hour drink specials daily from open until 6 p.m. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Is your smile ready for the spotlight? Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco, and at Knoxville Smiles, we make every visit a reason to smile. From routine cleanings to dazzling cosmetic treatments, our experienced team uses the latest technology to keep your teeth healthy and your smile bright. With a warm, welcoming atmosphere and personalized care, we're here to make sure you leave feeling your best. Don't wait. Your perfect smile is just a call away. Book your appointment today at 865-539-1776 or online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
We really need to get some branded stuff. Shirts, hats, promo items, something professional.
I mean, we could just find a website and order a bunch of it ourselves.
You could, but you're taking a big risk. You don't know the quality, the fit, the timeline. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, I guess, but isn't that how everyone does it now?
Not the ones who actually care about how their brand looks. Look, if we're putting our name on it, it needs to be done right. We need SM Athletics.
SM Athletics?
Yeah, they specialize in working with businesses like ours. Apparel, hats, promo gear, but real, customized stuff. They actually care if it turns out right.
Probably a lot better than getting stuck with 100 t-shirts with crooked logos.
Exactly. Plus, they'll walk you through everything. Sizing, colors, material, so it matches the image we're trying to build.
Makes sense. What's the name again?
SM Athletics. Trust me, if you want to look like a real company, not a flea market stand, this is the move. If you're serious about your brand, work with people who are serious about getting it right. SM Athletics.
Ready to launch your career? Axel Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axel proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axel, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axel Logistics is the place to start your career.
We're live here on The Chase. Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Download that Fan Run Radio app if you're not already. It's free. Listen to us every day, Monday through Friday, right here on Fox Sports Knoxville. 1 to 3, where you can hear all kinds of great insight from the experts all across college football and beyond, and guys who cover rival programs like the LSU Tigers, the Bayou Bengals, Bryce Kuhn, who covers it all. Atlanta guy. I remember Georgia Tech stuff. Bryce is all over the place. Bryce, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Doing well, Chase. I appreciate you having me on. And like you were mentioning earlier, yeah, an Atlanta guy now located down here on the Bayou. So quite the culture shock, man, but loving it down here.
There you go. Is the food an upgrade over Atlanta?
Oh, you're going to get me in trouble if I say that. But no, look, I mean, overall, yeah, no, it's got to be. The food's great. Still searching for some wings. Atlanta holds the title for wings for me so far between those two places.
There you go. Yeah, you can't go wrong. Atlanta wings I miss a lot here in Knoxville, Tennessee as well. Like Atlanta wings, when you know the good wing spots, it's just hard to beat. Bryce Kuhn joining us from Go 247. Bryce, one of the things I want to pick your brain on here that I'm really curious about is LSU and Tennessee are in some big-time recruiting battles here. Darius Gray was on campus for his OV over the weekend, interior offensive lineman. He was at Tennessee last weekend, at LSU this weekend. It seems like that's a big-time Tennessee-LSU battle. Where do things stand right now in your estimation in the Darius Gray recruitment?
Yeah, I talked with Darius before the OV season kicked off, and one of the big things that we kind of went over was just what was important to him, and it was the development aspect. And, he knew from visiting LSU during the spring for an unofficial visit that the Tigers were going to have not one, not two, but several, NFL draft caliber players. And obviously, the draft comes and goes, and LSU sends nearly their entire offensive line, at least to minicamp, highlighted by Will Campbell there in the top 15 picks. So, development was a big thing for him. And then talking with him coming out of the visit, it was just something they continued to harp on. And offensive line coach Brad Davis, I mean, he just turns and points to the wall, where you have a guy like Will Campbell, you have a guy like Emory Jones, Miles Frazier, Garrett Dellinger, all off of that roster. And it's kind of twofold, Chase. It's, hey, we put guys in the NFL, but also we've got some open spots on the roster this year. So, they backfilled that with some transfer guys, some one-year stopgaps. But I think the biggest thing for Gray with a talent like him is that there's the pitch to where we're not scared to play as a freshman. They put Will Campbell at left tackle week one against Florida State down in New Orleans a couple of years ago. They put Emory Jones at right tackle. So for Gray, it's not just the development aspect. It's, hey, it's a combination of we'll use you now if you're good enough, but we'll also develop you into that NFL caliber player, which, look, I mean, a lot of other programs can definitely do, but that's really kind of been the big calling card for LSU. And so, coming out of the visit, I like where LSU stands. I mean, we talked about this in the recruiting game all the time, and, we post different stuff and we tease different, scoop and everything like that. But the Tigers really did put their best foot forward. Just kind of talking with some people inside and outside that program and talking with Gray directly about it. I mean, it was just something where they really put their best foot forward, and obviously a decision comes next. But I think if you're LSU, you come out of this weekend thinking, okay, if we lose out on this race, it's not going to be because we didn't give it all we had. That's something that I think you never want to lose a recruitment in any form or fashion. But, you can at least sleep well at night knowing this decision was made here, but not because of a money thing, not because of an opportunity thing, just because of the kid's ultimate decision to want to go play somewhere else.
You have another big battle here with the 5-star who's a current commit, and that's Tristan Keys. He was at Tennessee this weekend. His OV, by all accounts, big success. We'll see if Tennessee moved the needle enough. I mean, the interesting thing here, as you saw last offseason, Bryce Underwood and DeCorian Moore, both LSU commits, and then they don't end up at LSU. Does this feel like one of the two, whether that's Darius Gray, who obviously is not committed to LSU yet, does it feel like it would be a surprise if both end up at LSU? Would it not? Do you think Tristan Keys, between him and Darius Gray, seems like more of a Tennessee possibility? Where do you stand on the Keys part of it?
Yeah, with Keys, and another guy that I actually drove up to Hattiesburg about a month ago now and visited right before the OV season kicked off and talked with his head coach, his offensive coordinator, and talked with him specifically, before a practice. And one of the biggest things that we kind of touched on was, why LSU? Why was that a place where he wanted to go? And, Tiger fans have kind of, I guess, this is come more to light since he made that announcement earlier in the spring of where he was going to commit to at the time. But he had been on LSU's radar for quite some time. Like the connection on the staff to Hattiesburg High School is very, very deep. Donovan Tate is one of the big recruiting staffers down here in Baton Rouge, and he actually went to Hattiesburg High, and he still has relationships with people in that community. And so when Keys was coming up as a prospect, it was really a situation of where, they knew who he was, then he burst onto the scene, and then everybody comes calling. Well, he had camped at LSU for multiple years. Every single kid says that LSU is the dream school, but I believe it was a visit last year where, Justin Jefferson was in town and Odell Beckham Jr. was in town. And to get Keys around guys like that, not just for the, the celebrity status that they are, but for the, opportunity to get to an NFL contract and get to that second NFL contract. And those were some big calling cards, and having those guys kind of talk about what it meant to, be at LSU and be at a place where, look, there's a lot of national conversation surrounding a kid like Keys. And to want to go play at a place that has produced NFL wide receivers, not just 10 years ago, but as recently as, last year with what Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors did. So, it's a scenario for me that with Keys, there's deep ties. Now, look, every single LSU fan will tell you it is never over until the kid steps onto campus, especially after the Bryce Underwood debacle last year, and you mentioned the DeCorian Moore. There are certainly vibes from the fan base that feel like that. At this point, though, Alabama's no longer going to be a contender for him. It really does feel like this could be a Tennessee-LSU race. And so, going back to your question there, could LSU hold on to both of these guys? I think it's certainly possible. They've upped their NIL game, just very quickly, I would say, over the past 365 days, and even going back further for the high school recruiting rankings. So, could Keys be a flip candidate? He definitely is. He enjoyed the trip to Knoxville and talking with some people on his high school staff down there. It's a kid that wants to enjoy the process. And I think, when you look at that, you have to, applaud the kid for going through the process and going through it for, hopefully the hope is just one time for that. So with Keys in general, LSU feels really good about where they are still with him. They'll get him in this upcoming weekend. But I do want to note, like you said, Tennessee is pushing hard, and they've done a good job with Gray. They've done a good job with Keys. Ultimately, LSU's got to hold on, whether it's, renegotiating NIL, whether it's, some different, promises or making sure that everything checks out. There's just there's in today's day and age of recruiting, nothing surprises you. So would it surprise me to see Darius Gray go somewhere that's not LSU? Would it surprise me to see Tristan Keys flip? No, I wouldn't be good at my job, or I wouldn't be doing my job correctly if I said that I was 110% surprised by anything.
Hey, Bryce, this is Jay speaking. I know defense has kind of been a point of struggle for LSU in the past in the Kelly area. Do you think this year can be an improvement for it?
Yeah, I think year 2 of Blake Baker is going to help with that, too. And, Baker was highly touted before Jim Knowles was hired at Penn State. I believe Blake Baker was the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football. And so while he gets knocked down the peg a little bit there with the Jim Knowles hire, and I believe maybe Tom Allen at Clemson, but he's still a guy that is young. He is vibrant in the way that he coaches, a lot of passion. And, you talk about this defense, I think the best way to describe it is the first 3 years under Kelly, they were just trying to fit pieces that just maybe weren't the right pieces. And you were kind of doing what you had to do with the pieces on the roster. And this is the first year where, I look at the depth chart and I look at some of the pieces that they picked out of the transfer portal, which, you mentioned they've invested heavily into the transfer portal this past cycle. It's one of those things where I just kind of look at it and I say, okay, if it doesn't work with this group, then there needs to be some overhaul, because on paper, the pieces fit. Now, look, I can sit here and say this in the month of June, and we'll get to August when they play Clemson, and it can be a totally different story. But on paper, they have the talent to be better. So, is that a top 10, top 15 unit? I'm in more of a show me type stance before I get into that. But I do think this can be an improved unit that can incrementally continue to improve after a year where they saw some improvement in certain numbers, yards per game, points per game. They've got to get there if they want to make the playoff in 2025.
If they don't make the playoff, is Brian Kelly back next year?
Ooh, that's the big question with this. And I think the buyout was a concern last year. I think it would honestly have to depend, and this is probably not the clip-worthy answer you wanted with this, but I think it's also going to depend on what the record looks like. If this is a 9-3 team that narrowly misses out and it's just a close, gut-wrenching loss, and you are able to secure the top 5 recruiting class, he probably buys himself an extra year. If this is a year where, Gary Nussmeier doesn't take a step forward, but rather he regresses, and that offensive line that we talked about earlier in the segment is, it's a problem, and not in a good way. And the defense is status quo or worse, and you have some injuries here or there. If that happens, then I could definitely see a change in leadership for LSU, because you all know this. I mean, you cover this conference, you cover this sport long enough to know that LSU's expectation isn't just to make a playoff. It's to win a national championship down here. And so it's one of the few programs that's won multiple since the turn of the century. And you even kind of go back, a little bit further in just the success that they've been able to have here. So I think the excuse is out for Kelly in terms of the roster management. Like I said earlier, they've invested enough to where this year, for me, it is playoff or bust. But a 9-3 record, and maybe you're the 13th or 14th team in the country, that could come down to splitting hairs, because then you have to kind of look around and say, all right, who is feasibly better that we can go get right now and who's available? Look, it's always a popular take to say fire the coach by the fans and on social media, but then you have to kind of have a real, plan. And everything moves very fast in today's day and age in terms of when you fire your coach and the portal opens for you at that moment for 30 days. And then you get to the end of the season, and there's just a lot of moving parts to where, AD Scott Woodward is going to have to be ready. If he's ready to make the decision, it can't be an emotional one. It has to be something that is preconceived plan, and he's got to have probably a pretty good idea of maybe his top 1 or 2 targets would be if Kelly was to get canned.
I love it. We'll end on this, Bryce. I'm putting you in the hot seat here.
All right.
Over 50%, under 50% that Darius Gray is at LSU, and over under 50% that Tristan Keys stays in this class at LSU.
Ooh, hot seat. I like it. I'm going to go over 50% on Tristan Keys. I'm going to go under 50% Darius Gray.
I thought you were going to flip it.
Yeah, I do. I really do believe the wide receiver U moniker that LSU's trying to build here, and Ohio State does a great job with receivers. I don't want to mince that, but for me, I think they're doing right by Keys, and it's going to be interesting. He likes to have fun with the recruiting process, as fans have noticed on social media. But, man, I'm going to get bold with it. You wanted – there's your clip-worthy right there, fellas.
There you go.
Keys over 50%, Darius Gray under 50%. It's not to say I don't feel good about Gray joining the class, but I do think there's an opportunity for Tennessee or an Oregon or someone like that to really, really pick up a good head of steam.
Great stuff here. Bryce Kuhn does a great job. Go 247. Make sure you check out Bryce and all of his great work over there at 247 Sports and CBS. Bryce, we'll have to get you back in here again later on this summer, but that was fantastic. I appreciate the time, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Bryce Kuhn, there you go. Go Vols. Go 247 over there covering the LSU Tigers, doing a great job every day there. That'll put a bow on today's edition here on The Chase, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3, right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Thank you to producer Jay. Thank you to producer Garrett Armbrust, G5 Garrett, as people are knowing him. Each day we'll talk a whole lot more Tennessee. The rest of this week we'll have Ball Reports, Ryan Sylvia, and tomorrow, Drive, Russell Smith coming up next. Y'all come back now.
Citizens National Bank. You want a bank that lets you bank when and where you want to. Your local branch, the grocery store, your computer, your phone, it's up to you.